Hello everyone. Today's topic is blood components. Blood is a very important body fluid that helps in the transportation of molecules throughout the body. In this topic, we will discuss the composition of blood as well as we will go through the contents of plasma and different types of blood cells. We will discuss the various functions of each component of blood as well as we will go through the process of erythropoiesis. In humans, blood circulation system contains three main organs. Heart acts as a pump which supply the blood all over the body, whereas lungs are the main gaseous exchange site where we inhale the atmospheric oxygen and it is absorbed by the capillaries. And the most important, there is a network of arteries and veins. These arteries and veins are uh, present all over the body and supply the blood in each and every cell of our body. Arteries carries normally oxygenated blood, whereas veins carry deoxygenated blood. So this whole makes the circulation of blood throughout the body. When we see the composition of blood, it has mainly the plasma which contains the water content, which provides it a fluidity. It also contains some amount of protein and electrolytes which are important for cell functioning, whereas in very small amount it also contains some dissolved gases. Less than 1% it contains platelets and leukocytes which are responsible for the defense mechanism of our body, but majorly it contains erythrocytes which are also known as RBCs. So this is the basic composition of our blood. Plasma proteins have mainly albumin, which is responsible for the osmotic pressure. It is the osmotic pressure which easily diffuse plasma from capillaries to the tissues and backward direction also. Globulins act as an antibodies which are an important part of our immunity system. And the most important what is has is fibrinogens. Fibrinogens are responsible for clotting of blood. So whenever we have any injury or bleeding is started, fibrinogen accumulates itself and forms a clot and thus prevent the blood loss. So this is a self-preventive mechanism of blood. And in very small amount, it also contains coagulation factors and antitrypsin. When we see the cells of blood, there are three types of cell. Red blood cells called RBCs, white blood cells called WBCs and platelets. We can see here there are five types of white blood cells. Monocytes, which are the largest one, WBC. Lymphocytes have two types, B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. Then there are eosinophil, basophil and neutrophils. Each and every cell has a different function. Then there are platelets which are responsible for the defense mechanism. When we see the function of white blood cells, there are a different lifespan of each type of blood cell. Neutrophil has only 7-hour lifespan and it is responsible for the defense mechanism, whereas eosinophil has a longer 8 to 10 days of lifespan and it is effective against the parasite infection. Basophil are mainly responsible for the inflammatory response, so it has a lifespan very short, from few hours to few days only. Monocyte have 3 days lifespan and it is responsible for the immune surveillance. It always checks the foreign matters in our blood. But the most important are the B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. They are called the memory cells for blood. Whenever an antigen come into our blood, B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte retain the memory of that antigen, and in future when that infection again comes into your blood, they produce the antibodies to counter it attack. So this is how B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte provide an immunity for various bacterial and viral infections. So the main function of white blood cell is to protect the body against the from the foreign material, whether it is a bacteria, virus, or any foreign antigen. Or and white blood cells are responsible for the immunity and defense mechanism of our body. Red blood cells are the only oxygen carrier cells that carries oxygen throughout the body. They are concave in shape, and most important, they does not have any nucleus. Yes, this is the cell which does not have any nucleus, nor it has any cell organelles. They are RBCs are only contain hemoglobin molecule inside it, which are covered with the membrane. This is the basic structure of RBC. When we see the structure of hemoglobin, it is made up of heme, which is a pigment, and the globin protein. Heme is a tetrahedral porphyrin ring structure. You can see the chemical structure of here, where the iron atom is based at the center. It has a tetrahedral structure which provide the site for oxygen attachment. When we talk about globin protein, it has two alpha chains and two beta chains. You can see here, and each chain is attached with a heme, and heme has a center iron atom. So this is the tetrahedral quaternary structure of hemoglobin. You can see here, one molecule of hemoglobin contains 4 iron atoms. So it can bind to 4 oxygen atoms. So we can say one hemoglobin carries 4 molecules of oxygen. In the relaxed binding structure, it allows the binding of oxygen to iron, and whereas when it releases the oxygen, it has the tight binding structure, and this is how it carries the oxygen and then release the oxygen at the site of cell. The process of synthesis of RBC is called as erythropoiesis. It is regulated by the condition of hypoxia. Hypoxia is a condition when the partial pressure of oxygen is down in the blood, or the concentration of oxygen is low in blood. This activates the kidney to produce erythropoietin. It is also called as EPO, which activate the bone marrow. Erythropoietin activate the red bone marrow, which is present in our bones, and to produce the stem cells. And these stem cells are then responsible for the generation of RBCs. This is how the production of RBC is induced. When we have more RBC, it will carry the more oxygen, and that will have a negative feedback mechanism on hypoxia. You can see here, this is the stem cell which our red bone marrow contains. Stem cells are undifferentiated. Undifferentiated means that they can be converted into any type of cell. So this is called as hemocytoblast, but with the effect of EPO, they are converted into proerythroblast. Means these cells has to be committed to form a erythrocyte. Then this proerythroblast go through the developmental pathway into 3 phases. Phase 1 has the ribosome synthesis, when the ribosomes are being prepared here, and the required hemoglobin protein is then produced here, which is the second phase of development of RBC, where the hemoglobin is produced and accumulated at the center. And the last and important phase is ejection of nucleus. Yes, the RBC cell itself eject the nucleus out of the cell and thus become the anucleated. So what the right and slowly the all the cell organelles denatured itself. So what erythrocyte does have only hemoglobin surrounded by membranous structure. So this is the production of RBC, which itself eject the nucleus, denatured its cell organelles, and accumulate the hemoglobin. So it can bind or carry the more amount of oxygen. So if we can summarize the functions of blood, blood has mainly three major functions. First is the transportation. Yes, it transports oxygen and carbon dioxide throughout the body. It transports electrolytes. Also, it transports the chemical messengers. Chemical messengers can be hormones, that can be neurotransmitters, everything which has to be transported in our body, it will be transported through the blood. So this provide a transportation means to our body. Then again, the second most important function of blood is the immunity. It provides the defense mechanism to our body. Whenever an antigen or any bacteria or virus came into our body, our blood produced the immunity cells, T lymphocytes, platelets, which attack on that antigen and destroy it. So this is the this provide the defense, and as well as they retain the memory of that antigen and produce the antibodies which will affect for the future infection. And also it has a prevention of blood loss by the formation of blood clotting. So it is a preventive mechanism of blood. So we have seen the composition and functions of blood. I hope you have understood all the aspects. Thank you very much.